Hello there, this video is going to have a look at X and Y chromosomes, how we know if we're going to get a boy or a girl, and sex-related diseases. So your keywords are over on the right over here, something new that I've added in. Let's make a start. So the first thing to remember is that every person has 23 pairs of chromosomes in their DNA, in the nucleus of their cells. The 23rd chromosome is the male-female chromosome. So the 23rd pair can either be an XY or an XX chromosome. You should be able to know by now that XY is male and XX is female. So when sperm is made, in the male obviously, the chromosomes get split up. This gets split up into your X chromosome, which is the larger one here, and the Y chromosome, which is the smaller one here. Now when sperm is produced, this gets broken down even further. Because if you remember, the sperm are haploids, so they only contain half the chromosome. Now because the eggshell, so the egg has an X chromosome regardless, it gives you a 50-50 chance of having an XY or an XX, which means you have a 50% chance of being male or female. And that can be explained by using a Punnett square. So, if you were to have this combination, which is the only possible combination you can have, you have the two X's from the mother and the XY from the father. Possible combinations are XX, XX, XY, and XY. So this proves to you that you have a 50% chance of being male and 50% chance of being female. Every time someone has a new child though, this resets. So it doesn't mean if you have one male, the next one is guaranteed to be female. Every single child you have, there's a 50% chance of it being male, 50% chance of it being female. So it might turn out that you have 4 girls in a row, and so on. This next section of the video is going to have a look at sex-linked genetic disorders. So you're going to have a look at why some genes can come through and why they're sex-linked. So the first thing to know is that a sex-linked genetic disorder is a characteristic that's located on the X or Y chromosome. Now these aren't necessarily sex STIs, these are things like colourblindness and haemophilia, which you should have come across before. So as I've pointed out in the previous part of this video, the X chromosome is much bigger than the Y chromosome. That means the Y chromosome contains less genetic information and the X chromosome contains a lot more. This means that this can contain less genes for the sex-linked disorder. So in other words, if the X chromosome had 2 sex-linked genetic disorders on there, the Y chromosome may only have room for 1. And that comes into when we look at alleles and recessive and dominant genes. So let's say one of the parents had the recessive allele here for haemophilia. If both the alleles were on there and the other one was dominant, then the person would be a carrier. However here, if this one was say for colour blindness, which I'm just going to put a small n, because the Y chromosome can't fit that on there, even though there's only one allele, this person would therefore have that disorder, so would be colourblind. And I'll show you what I mean by that with a Punnett diagram now. Now these Punnett squares are slightly different to the way you normally draw them. Because it's on the sex chromosome, you need to actually put in the chromosome as well as the allele. So in this case I'm going to use a capital N and a small n. So for the sake of this, the small n is the recessive colourblind allele, and n is if they're normal, so they're not colourblind. So if the female was a carrier of colour blindness, so had the normal and the recessive allele, and then the father was perfectly normal, no colour blindness, you'd have this possible combination. So this would show you that there is a 25% chance of being completely normal female. A 25% chance of being a normal male. A 25% chance of being a carrier. And a 25% chance of a colourblind male. Now you'll notice from this, in this situation, the female couldn't actually have the disease, but the male would have a 50-50 chance, if it was a male, of getting that disease. So this shows you that males are more susceptible to some diseases, some sexually linked genetic disorders. In this example, if you had a colourblind male and a carrier, these are the possible combinations you would have. So, this person would be a carrier. This would be a female that had the disease, so had colourblindness. So as you can see from this, the actual chances of the male being colourblind is exactly the same, but this time you've got a 50-50 chance of the female having it and a 0% chance of the person not being a carrier. If you need any more help on Punnett squares and on this information, just let me know.